Night in Cedar Hollow doesn't just sneak in quietly. It kicks open the door and makes sure you feel it, rattling the porch and whispering through the pine, like it's got secrets to spill. That was the kind of night I got 3 sharp knocks at my door, right as I was halfway up the stairs. You want to talk about timing? The kind that says, something's about to go down. And there she was, standing in that cold porch light like she'd ordered the wind herself. Lorraine Price, our HOA president, every hair in place, coat buttoned up to the chin, clipboard in hand. Wearing that stiff smile folks get when they're used to bossing people around. You ever met someone like that? Yeah, that happened. She didn't waste a second on small talk, just went straight for the pitch. We need your place tonight. Like she was offering me the chance to do her a favor. I looked her dead in the eye and said, no. And right there, that little word lit the fuse on a whole powder keg I didn't even know was sitting under my cabin. My name's Eli Mercer, by the way. My grandparents built this place back before there was anything out here except moonlight, logging roads, and stubborn folks who like things that way. The deed's in a rusted old box under the floor, and it means a hell of a lot more to me than any HOA bylaw some committee dreamed up at a potluck. You want to know what I got? Wood stove, patched windows, a map on the wall, and my dog Ranger, who treats every sound like a possible apocalypse. And here's the kicker. My cabin's not even in the HOA. Never was. The property line runs right along the gravel. Clear as day if you bother to check the county map. Lorraine, though, she treated that line like it was some vague suggestion. Not a hard fact. She started talking about community emergencies, waving that clipboard around, her voice all concern and drama, saying families down the hill needed shelter. I could feel her. Audience behind her, neighbors peeking from their porches, waiting to see if I'd cave. I told her I'd check on folks myself if there really was trouble, and shut the door on that smile that never quite reached her eyes. Thought that was the end. Not even close. 2 days later, things got real and fast. Squad car in the drive, private tow truck idling, 3 men stepping out, all polite in. That way people get when they've already made up their mind about you. Lorraine wasn't just any small-town busybody. She played chess, not checkers. She'd been laying the groundwork for weeks, whispering at meetings about community resources and shared assets, all while her friend was quietly flipping vacation rentals for cash. My place, sitting out here on the edge of nowhere, looked perfect for a little side hustle. That's how Act 1 ended, me watching from the window as the pieces started to move. Act 2. That's where you find out just how creative people can get when they want something that isn't theirs. It started with official-looking notices taped to the mailbox, emergency shelter declarations stamped with the HOA seal. Then came the rumors, flyers, and emails to neighbors saying my property would be temporarily utilized for emergency relief. One morning, a plow company I'd never seen before showed up, bright yellow truck, driver squinting at his phone, Lorraine's texts lighting up the screen. So I did what anyone half paranoid and twice burned would do. Set up trail cams, started recording every little thing, because when the truth starts slipping, a camera is the only thing that keeps you from getting steamrolled. Ranger learned to post up by the window. I kept chili on the stove, told myself it would blow over. And then, just before dawn one morning, the back door started rattling like someone was testing the hinges. 2 guys, dressed in black, moving like they'd watched too many late-night movies, flashlights. A sheriff's cruiser came gliding up the driveway, lights cutting the snow in half. Suddenly, nobody wanted to joke anymore. But Lorraine wasn't done, not by a long shot. Next day, I got a visit from a deputy, flashlight in hand, looking over his shoulder like he expected a showdown. She'd filed a welfare check, said she was worried about the safety of the inhabitants. Set up my phone, pointed it at the wall, and told the story, not just for me, but for anyone who'd ever had someone try to rewrite the rules in real time. Showed the paperwork, played the trail cam footage, called out names. And something wild happened. The chat started filling up, neighbors, strangers, folks from down the road, and 3 towns over, all sharing their own stories. All calling Lorraine's bluff for what it was. That's when things spun out of her control. She came back that afternoon with reinforcements, plow truck, cars lined up, the whole show. Walked up the porch steps like she was leading a parade, announcing, "We're executing a temporary requisition for community use." Loud enough for the cameras. I met her at the door, Ranger practically vibrating at my heels. She wanted to make a scene. I wanted to keep it simple. If there's an emergency, call emergency services. Don't use people as props. She called me stubborn. I called her bluff. Her guy, Cal, young, cocky, tried the lock with something that looked a lot like a spare key. Problem was, now there were thousands watching. Deputies came, drawn by the live stream. Neighbors started showing up, and a local reporter called the sheriff's office with a link to the video. And just like that, the mask came off. Cal's face turned white as chalk when he saw the cameras. Lorraine's voice hit a new octave. And then, like something out of a movie, a deputy handcuffed Cal on my front step for attempted unlawful entry. Lorraine raged. Threaten lawyers. But there's not much you can do when 30,000 people are watching and the receipts are out in the open. After that, it all started to unravel. Leaked emails, text threads about rentals and profit splits, neighbors realizing just how deep it all ran. Lorraine resigned. Personal reasons, she said. Cal took a plea. The plow driver even testified. Sympathetic neighbors, and sat by the fire with Ranger, thinking about what it means to hold your ground. See, this isn't one of those stories where the hero rides off into a sunset, problem solved. It's messier than that. It's about knowing where you stand, and what you'll do when someone tries to move your line. I lost sleep, sure. Got angry. But I also met people who'd been waiting for someone to draw that line in public. Folks who'd kept their heads down for years, now knocking on my door, offering to help. That's what sticks with me. Rights aren't just documents in dusty boxes. Would finally quiet down. That's what I told myself. Anyway, as I sat by the fire, Ranger sprawled out like he'd won some private war, snoring with his paws twitching in a dream. But that's the thing nobody tells you about standing up for yourself in a small town. You don't just draw a line for one fight. You paint a target for the next. Word got around faster than gossip at the hardware store. Some folks dropped by with handshakes, casseroles, little stories of their own, things they'd never dared say out loud before. But there were others too, the ones who'd kept quiet when Lorraine was in charge, now whispering that I'd brought too much attention, that I was making the community look divided. You know what I mean? It's like you finally get a taste of freedom, and suddenly half the town is worried you'll shake the whole tree instead of just picking an apple. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up a sec. A few days after the big showdown, I'm patching up the door where Cal's crowbar left a scar, when I hear a knock that's way too polite to be trouble. I open up to find Mrs. Harrell. She's about 80, sharp as a tack. Always wearing that faded red coat. The kind of person you'd never guess had been keeping receipts on half the valley for years. She steps inside, looks around, and tells me straight up, you know. Snap. And for the first time, the quiet folks, the ones who never came to meetings, who usually let the loudest voice win, started showing up. Some angry, some scared, some just tired of being told what their land was worth by someone who never built a fence or dug a ditch. You ever watch a room change like that? I could see it in their faces. This wasn't just about me, or even Lorraine. Younger folks who'd moved in for quiet, and now wondered if they'd bought into a mess. There was this one guy, Pete, new dad, works at the mill, barely says 2 words in a row, but that night he stood up and told the board, my house is mine. You want to help people? Start by respecting that. The room actually clapped. Someone brought up the live stream, played the clip of Cal getting cuffed on my porch, and the whole room cracked up, the tension finally breaking for a second. But it wasn't all feel-good movie stuff. The next week, I found a letter tucked under my windshield wiper. No name, just, you made things harder for everyone. Then my internet started cutting out, and the guy who ran the repair service said, must be all those people watching your videos. Paranoia, or just bad luck. Hard to say. Ranger started barking at shadows that might have just been raccoons, or maybe not. That's the price nobody talks about. When you push back, you don't just win. You wake up the things that like to stay asleep. Now, here's where it gets real, and a little bit beautiful, if you're willing to squint past the mess. The local kids started dropping by, not just to play with Ranger, but to ask questions, poke around the maps on my wall, hear stories about the valley before there was an HOA at all. One night, a high schooler named Danny, wild hair, writes, funny thing, the same people who once said I was just stirring the pot started asking my advice on survey lines, deeds, even zoning forms. Pete offered to help put up new private property signs, big enough you could see them from a drone. The kids made a video series on local history, started interviewing the old-timers. Ranger got fat on all the table scraps folks brought by. Still, there were moments late at night, with the wind rattling the windows and the fire burning low, when I wondered if it was all worth it. Maybe you know that feeling, the cost of standing up, the way it never really ends. But then I'd hear someone laugh outside, or see Ranger dreaming on the rug, and I'd remember, yeah, it was worth every minute. I guess what I'm saying is, winning a fight like this isn't about getting everything you want, or driving the bad guys out for good. It's about making it just a little bit harder for the next bully who tries to claim what isn't. Argue with me if you think I got it wrong. Share this if you know someone who needs a nudge to stand their ground. And if you're ever driving through Cedar Hollow, stop by. Ranger will probably bark, and I'll probably offer you coffee, and who knows, maybe you'll leave with a story of your own.